Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about the pros and cons of riding pillion versus having your own motorcycle.
Good job! That only took 6 minutes.
I'm going to start with the cons first, that I don't get to enjoy as much as I'd like to from when I was riding passenger to now having my own motorcycle. The first one I would say is enjoying the views and surroundings beside me. As passenger, you didn't have to worry about the cars and the roads ahead of you. I could enjoy and just look at all the surroundings beside me and around me. Now I feel like I'm so focused on the road, the cars, even if we're on dirt, I'm constantly like focused on the rocks and everything like that. So I'm sure in time it'll get better, and I'll be more relaxed in general, not so stressed out with riding. So that's just one of them. Okay, and the second one would be weather conditions. Before, when I was riding passenger, if it was raining or windy or anything like that, I didn't really have too much concern for that. It never really bothered me. We always had gear, so that didn't really like concern me at all. Versus now, when we hit rain, I'm worrying about the road conditions. If it's really pouring down rain, the windshield, constantly having to wipe that away from the screen. Wind is a big thing. I hate wind so much. I don't know if I'm just overthinking it, but like if we're going down a straight road and there's like open sections and I can feel it, it does freak me out a little bit, but I'm sure in time that will get better. All right, and the third one is holding Jacob back. I know he's fine with teaching me and everything like that, but I know I do ride slower, especially on the dirt roads and the gravel roads. He's constantly saying, we could go a little bit faster, we could go a little bit faster, even on blacktop around turns. So I know I'm holding him back, but I feel like just in the past few weeks I've gotten a little bit better with that. Trying to maintain speed is one thing, especially around turns, curves. Another thing is the gravel and dirt roads. I like to stay in first gear and go like about 15 miles per hour. So I know maybe in time I'll get better with that and he'll be able to enjoy the riding even more. Now we'll move on to the pros. All right, so my first pro of riding my own motorcycle is going at my own pace. By that, I mean, I know it contradicts one of those cons I just talked about, but when I was on the back with him, if I wanted to go a little bit slower, I would pat his leg, but most of the time he would keep doing what he was doing, and I could yell at him and it wouldn't really work. So now I can, you know, even if he's yelling at me and he's behind me on his bike, it doesn't matter. I'm in control of this bike, so I can do what I feel comfortable doing. And, you know, if he wants to go faster, he can. All right, so my second pro of riding my own motorcycle is that it's made me a better car driver. And by that, I mean, as a motorcycle rider, you're constantly scanning the road for obstacles or anything that could put you in danger. Not just other cars or vehicle or other motorcyclists, but animals. Sitting here on the motorcycle, not having a cage surrounded by you, you really are just constantly looking for danger, and your brain does do that. So in return, when I'm in my vehicle now, I'm constantly scanning the road as if I was on my motorcycle. All right, so my third pro of riding my own motorcycle is the learning experience I've had. I've always wanted to have my own motorcycle, but in the back of my mind, I never thought that this day would come. I always thought I would be riding passenger with Jacob and we would be hitting all the trails and doing everything on his bike. And I'm so glad that we had this opportunity where I did finally get my own bike, and it's been great. And my final pro is just having more fun. And by that, I mean a few things. When riding passenger with Jacob and we would go through hard trails, he would feel more accomplished than I did. It felt great, but he definitely did all the work to get there. And now I get to experience that feeling. When going through a hard obstacle or what I seem as difficult or just something new that I haven't done as a new rider, and hearing him over the headset saying good job or you did it, keep going, it makes you feel good. So if you're thinking about getting a motorcycle, or if it's always in the back of your mind, you definitely should, because this has been a great experience for me, and I'm so glad that I finally did this.
All right, so I'm gonna start with the cons also, and the first con is gonna be, it's either more compromises or more work. It's kind of, you pick it. It's either we can pick, it's always gonna be compromises, but we can take the harder trails. But if we take the harder trails, I'm gonna have to ride my bike through, and if she's not feeling comfortable, I'm either gonna have to get off and walk with her or help her get her bike through, or I'm gonna have to ride her bike through, and that can involve me either riding up a hill, walking back down it to ride her bike up, or it could be the opposite, and it could be me riding down through a section and turning around and walking back up the hill to ride her bike down. Or it could be a big creek crossing. You know, I might feel completely fine riding across a big creek crossing, but she might not. So that could involve me wading across the water to help her out. So there's a lot of compromises to teaching your wife to ride a motorcycle, especially, well, anybody new that is. All right, my next con is that everything costs twice as much. You don't just have one motorcycle to maintain or one motorcycle to fill up with gas. You don't have just 2 tires to worry about anymore. You now have 4 tires that could possibly get nails in them. You have two bikes that can be broken down on the trail. Everything's doubled when you have 2 people with 2 motorcycles versus 2 people on 1 motorcycle. All right, so this brings us to my last con, and it's not really so much a con. It's just that it's no fairy tale. Your wife can ride with you through wherever. When she gets on her own motorcycle, she's her own person. She's going to ride at her own pace and do her own thing. She's not going to be coming straight off the gates, full Ricky Carmichael, ready to run you off and into the woods. As there's a long learning process here, and it's going to take some time. So be prepared for that. I know a lot of people probably are, but you know, when you're cruising up fire roads at 35, 40 miles per hour, just cruising, your wife or your friends, the new rider, their cruising pace could be 15, and you have to live with that for a little while. All right, so now we're going to get into the pros. My first pros is the freedom and comfort. Riding by yourself on your motorcycle versus having someone sitting directly behind you, it's a lot more comfortable. I can now stand up when I want to stand up. I have the freedom now to be able to ride how I want to ride. You know, if I feel like, you know, pulling the front tire up off the ground, I don't have to do the old leg tap to tell her to hold on and listen to her scream. I can just do what I want. So there's a lot more freedom riding by yourself versus having someone ride on the back with you. All right, and my next one is going to be that we can pack more stuff. We can start bringing, as far as camping is concerned, or us going out of town, we don't have to load everything onto one motorcycle. We can bring a lot more of the creature comforts with us, stuff that we couldn't have brought on one bike, we now can bring just because we now have 4 saddlebags instead of 2. We have 2 tank bags instead of 1. You know, everything as far as that goes is doubled. So that's definitely a major bonus as far as being comfortable when you're away from your home. Okay, my third pro is going to be that we have a whole extra motorcycle. Let's say we do a trip and we're going to go, like we're planning on next year going out to Utah to ride. So if we get out to Utah and say one of these bikes breaks down, well, we can just 2 up on one bike. You know, it doesn't matter. We have a whole spare bike. The transmission, something horrible could go wrong on one of these motorcycles, and we still have the other bikes. So our whole trip isn't ruined. It's going to throw a big wrench in things and change everything up, but well, that's adventure riding. Nothing ever goes to plan. All right, so my fourth pro, I have a lot more pros than I have cons to this, but my fourth pro is that I get to teach Megan to ride a motorcycle. If any of my friends have ever ridden with me, as far as like the stunt riding was concerned or anything, I love watching people learn new things, and I love watching people do stuff that scares the crap out of them. Like as far as like seeing a friend scrape their fender for the first time, you know, and see Megan, the look on her face when we did that really rough trail and she crashed a bunch. When she got to that first little section, just the look on her face, that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy teaching somebody, and especially somebody that I know can do what they think they can't do. That's awesome. All right, so my fifth and final pro is that no matter what any of my friends are doing or anything that comes up, anytime, any weekend, I always get a ride with my best friend. That's something that only somebody who's teaching their wife to ride a motorcycle or whatever can experience, and I'd say it's been worth it. It's all the slow times, all the roads where I normally would want to go really fast. It's worth it just to slow down some to teach her to ride. So I hope you got something from this video, and I hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next one.